In this video, I'm going to show you how you can make up to $280 per day using Instagram Reels. Now, if you're like, why should I listen to this random guy I've never seen before? I have grown multiple successful pages on Instagram where I don't even show my face, and I've monetized them so effectively. I bought my dream car at age 17. Now, being fully transparent, the money I used to buy the car and stuff wasn't only from my pages. Part of it was also from running a program about how to do this, but a lot of it came from those pages. So I have actually made a very good amount of money with them. And so in this video, I'm going to show you how you can make anywhere from $200 to $300 a day using Instagram Reels. It's not going to make you a millionaire, it's not going to make you 100 grand in a month, but it's something you can get started with. And so I'm going to break it down into three parts. First, I'm going to show you how you can actually grow on Instagram and what to post. And then I'm going to show you two great monetization methods, which are quite simple, honestly, and you could implement to get to this goal. And so the first aspect of it is the growth, right? Like, what should you post and like what kind of niche should you do around your account and stuff like that. So the first section we'll cover is the actual posting on the account and the growth, right? And so first of all, you need to understand, like, what are you going to be posting about, what's your niche, all this kind of stuff, right? And when it comes to this topic, there's so many questions that people ask about this, and there's truly so much that we could go into, right? Your niche selection, your editing style, your content, how much you post, all this kind of stuff, right? There's a lot that goes into that, how to make videos go viral. At the end of the day, I could sit here talking about that for hours. The simplest explanation I can give, which you can take and then, use for yourself, is find what I call ghost pages and find 3 of these pages and model after them. So let me define what a ghost page is. A ghost page is essentially a page which you look at and you're like, okay, they're posting this kind of content, it's working for them, they're in this niche and they're monetizing or they're driving traffic. Let me model after this page and then become very similar to them, right? And so instead of coming here and trying to come up with your own unique idea or trying to reinvent the wheel or anything like that, you're just going to see what's already worked for other people and it's going to probably work for you as well, right? And so you've probably heard the saying that you are the result of the 4 friends or the 5 friends or whatever that you hang around the most. The same principle applies here where you are, or your page will be the result of the 3 or 4 pages that you model after the most. And so I recommend picking 3 ghost pages which you can model after. Let me give you an example of how I did this for myself, right? So for example, one of my pages is an Andrew Tate page. And so when I, started posting here, I was not the first person to start posting Andrew Tate videos. I didn't come up with this idea that, oh, there's this random person on the internet called Andrew Tate, let me start clipping his content. No, I saw that it was already working for other pages. They were getting millions of views, tens of millions of views doing it. So I was like, okay, well, that's probably going to work for me then if I do that as well. And so that's how I kind of decided to do that page. And now whenever I want to look for good clips to edit or good clips to use or video ideas or video templates or styles or anything like that, or even how to drive traffic from my page, I have all these other Andrew Tate pages which I can go and look at and get content ideas and stuff from them, right? I'll give you another example when I use the same principle. When I started out, I actually, before I ever posted on Instagram, I first started just with short form content on TikTok, right? And by the way, don't really recommend you focus on TikTok now, but just for the point of actually growing and to explain this is a good point, right? So for example, on TikTok, when I first started, I tried coming up with my own content style, my own ideas, and my own niche and all this kind of stuff, and I failed, right? I did quite a few accounts which I failed at. And my first success was when I started doing a Sam Sulek page. So I've grown multiple really big Sam Sulek pages, and I saw, okay, other people are making this kind of content about this bodybuilder, Sam Sulek, educational gym content kind of stuff. Okay, well, if I start a page like this and model after them, model after the clips they're using, the viral moments, all that kind of stuff, my page will also most likely do quite well. And so this was where, I just took that, those other pages and modeled after them for my own. And so whatever niche you're doing or whatever kind of content you plan on posting, make sure that you can find at least 3 ghost pages which you can model after. Now, if you're like, well, what do I look for in these ghost pages? Here's what you need to do. First of all, you need to take like 3 seconds to go subscribe and turn on notifications. But other than that, what should you actually do when you're looking at these ghost pages? You should look for ghost pages which have a good amount of views for how many followers they have. So if you see a page which has 1 million followers and they're only getting 1,000 or 2,000 views per video, or maybe only 10,000 views per video, it's probably not a good one to go with because it shows that that niche no longer is popular or it's just not performing well or anything like that, right? The second thing you want to look for is this page able to drive traffic? Because when it comes to the monetization, which I'll get to in a second in this video, so stick around for that, When it comes to the monetization, you're going to need to be able to drive traffic to whatever it is that you're promoting or you're trying to sell or whatever you're trying to do. You'll need to be able to drive traffic. That's what's going to make your page valuable. And so you need to look like, are they getting a lot of people clicking the link in their bio? If it's maybe they're doing it where it's like comment X to get this free guide or something, are a lot of people commenting? Is this page able to drive traffic? And if they meet those two requirements and it's in a niche that you think you understand, then that's a good one to go for. By the way, you should like this video. Moving on to the second point. So the second main part of this video is the monetization. So there's going to be two main ways which I recommend you monetize to actually get to that $200 to $300 a day kind of mark. And so the first way is one which I've used quite a bit, and it's called a newsletter, right? And so the first kind of method of monetization when it comes. So now that we've kind of covered the growth a little bit, now let's move on to the actual monetization, right? How are you actually going to make $200 to $300 per day with your page? What is it going to take? What are you going to have to do? How's it going to work, et cetera, et cetera? I'm going to cover that all here in a second. So there's two main ways when it comes to monetizing Instagram pages, which are probably, at least in my opinion, my two favorite ways. The two ways which I've made the most money with, which have worked the best for me and stuff. And so, there's other ways you can do it, but these are the two main ways. So the first one is with something called a newsletter. Now, if you don't know what a newsletter, I'll give you the super simple explanation and the definition. A newsletter is where you collect people's emails and then you send them emails. All right, it's super, super simple. You collect people's emails from like a page or something like that. They sign up to your email list, and then the newsletter is where you're sending them out emails. Maybe you're sending them an email every day, an email every week, whatever it is, right? And so a newsletter. And so how are you going to actually make money from this, right? Well, when it comes to a newsletter, there's a lot of different stuff which you can do, right? You can like do ads on your newsletter when you're sending emails. You can sell digital products through it. There's like a ton of different stuff you could do. But the main way which I've made the most money from myself, and which other people have gotten the best results with, and which is the simplest, is something called newsletter email referrals. So if that sounds complicated and you've never heard of that before, let me answer exactly kind of what that means and stuff. So newsletter email referrals are basically this. People come, and I'll put up a image or a screenshot of something so you can see what I'm talking about. People will come to your newsletter sign up page, where it'll just be probably a simple page, depending on how you design it, that looks like this, where people will enter their email, and then they have a button to click subscribe. That's how they subscribe to your email list. And so when people subscribe to your email list, what you can do is you can refer them to other newsletters or other email lists, whatever you want to call them. And so what will happen is, if you activate this feature and you set it up, you can set it up where if people subscribe to your newsletter, they will also then subscribe to, it'll show with a little pop-up like this on the screen. You just subscribe to Mark Vine's newsletter. Mark Vine also recommends X, Y, and Z newsletter. And so if you subscribe to X, Y, and Z newsletter, I just referred you to these other newsletters. Now, what happens there? How do I make the money? Well, these other newsletters that you subscribe to will pay me for getting them a new subscriber, right? So people subscribe to your newsletter. There will be a pop-up. They get this pop-up. Like they can subscribe to a bunch of other newsletters on the pop-up. When I subscribe, and these other newsletters will pay me for. And you can see here, this pop-up has a list of other newsletters. And so the magic about this is that you don't actually have to try to sell anything to people, or people don't have to even give you any money for you to actually make money. Each of these newsletters are individual newsletters. And so that's why this is very easy to do and very simple to do, because you don't have to be an expert at selling digital products to do this. You just create a page, send people to it. Very, very simple to do, right? Now, how much money do you actually make with this, right? Well, when it comes to this, breaking it kind of down of like what you would need to get to $280 a day, when you subscribe to even just one of these newsletters, which I refer you to, so how much would you actually need? So if you're doing newsletter email referrals, what would it actually take to get to that $280, $200 to $300 a day mark? How many subscribers would you need? How much traffic would you need to drive? Well, first of all, how much you actually make with this, right? So if someone subscribes to your newsletter and then they subscribe to one of the other referrals, how much you actually make from that? If you subscribe to just even one referral, each referral will pay anywhere from $1 to $4 per subscriber that you bring them, right? So on average, let's say $2. That's kind of the base average, which most pay. And so if you can get all 5, you can refer up to 5 at once. You could potentially earn about $10 per subscriber. So someone subscribes to your newsletter, and then they also subscribe to all 5 of the newsletter referrals. You could make $10 from that subscriber. Now, there's a little bit of nuance to this, and most people will tell you that's what you'll make, but in reality, it's not actually you won't make the full $10 because you have something called email verification rates. It's super complicated, kind of complicated. I'm not going to get into it in this video, but basically, if you make $10, you'll only keep about 50% of that after they go through their verification process. Still very, very good. So on average, if you get someone to subscribe to all 5, you'll probably make about $5 from that one subscriber. Now, so it seems pretty logical, right? If you want to make $280 a day, you need about 50 to 60 subscribers to actually go and sign up for all the boosts, right? So 50 to 60 subscribers, $5 each, that's going to get you $250 to $300 per day. Now, when it comes to that, not everyone who subscribes to your newsletter will also subscribe to the other ones you refer them. Maybe about 50% of them will, maybe a little bit more sometimes, but generally about 50% of them will. And so when you break it down like that, what you actually need is you need about 100 email subscribers overall subscribing per day, and then out of those, about 50% will subscribe to the newsletter referrals. That means you're getting about 50 to 60 people subscribe to the referrals. 50 to 60 people, $5 each. That gets you to about $250 to $300 just from this alone. And so, yeah, it's very simple to do. You know, all you need to do is just drive 100 people to sign up to your newsletter per day, which is not hard to do, by the way, at all. It's because it's free. Like I said, you don't really need to drive a ton of people to get 100 newsletter signups because pretty much everyone will sign up to your newsletter. And so when it comes to this, you're like, great, that sounds like I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I highly recommend you do this. Now, when you're thinking about like, should I do this? Should I do a different monetization method? Here's when you should use newsletter referrals. You should use them when you're just starting out and maybe you don't really understand monetization very well, or you're kind of a beginner when it comes to monetization. You haven't made a ton of money, you haven't gotten a ton of experience with it. And the reason for that is because it's very simple to do in terms of, you know, you don't have to try and sell people something, and so, you know, you don't have to be an expert at selling digital products or any of that more like quote unquote complicated stuff. It's very simple to do, it's very easy to do, very easy to set up. Now, the only downside of that is that it has all, if you were just to do newsletter referrals alone from your email list, kind of has like a peak limit kind of which you'll reach where you're not going to probably get to $100,000 a month just with this alone. But if you're a beginner, it's a great place to start out. And I'll actually show you this real quick. I kind of keep this on my computer just as a, it's really cool because I mean, it blew my mind when I started doing this. But if you look at this, this was from my very first week doing this, what I'm about to show you. And I've showed this email like 100 times because of how absolutely insane it is. But from my very first week with just newsletter referrals, I don't know how well you can see this. Maybe if you focus on the screen better when you're editing this, but I'll refresh the screen for you here, and you can see that is a payout of $5,194 from just the first week, and then I got another payout of another $1,500. So $6,500 in just the first week of doing this. Now, for me, it's a little bit different. Because I already had a big account. I think I had about 130,000 followers already when I learned about this and I implemented it. So it's going to be a little bit different, but it shows you, even in my first week when I didn't really understand what I was doing or I didn't have any experience with it, it still made me great money. And so this is one where it's very simple to do. You don't have to be like some kind of expert on something to do this, which is why I recommend, if you're a complete beginner, doing this. Now, throughout this video, if you have any questions, you can leave a comment below because I try my best to reply to every single comment. Sometimes there's too much where I can't reply to everyone, but I try my best to reply to every single one. So if you have a question, leave a comment. Now, the second form of monetization, which I'm going to cover, and by the way, after this, I'm going to give you a free gift, so stick around for that. The second one is digital products. So this is one of the main ways which you can monetize your page. It's one of my favorite ways, and it's one which I'm actually focusing a lot on right now. Now, what are digital products? You've probably heard this term a lot, like sell digital products in 2025. Here are the best digital products to sell. How to sell digital products. You've probably heard a bunch of this. Is becoming like a really trending thing now, digital products. And so what are they? A simple sense is literally what it says in the name, digital products. It's a product which is digital. So it's maybe a course, a community, a pack of luxury clips, it's a template, just anything you're selling online which is digital. The most common kind of digital products out there is like courses and things like that, right? And so when it comes to digital products, the reason I like them so much and the reason I'm focusing on them now is because they have a lot more potential to do super, super well and reach those upper limits compared to some of this other stuff, right? Where, like I said, you're probably not going to get to 100,000 a month just with newsletter referrals, whereas digital products actually do have the potential to get there. It's not easy to do, right? But for example, one of my not really a friend, but you know, someone I know with his page. I'm not going to disclose his page for privacy reasons. Maybe he doesn't want me to. But with his page, he's doing like anywhere from 40 to 50K a month consistently just with one digital product alone, right? And so it has that potential to get up there. Now, the downside of digital products when you're doing it is that it's a little bit more complicated to figure out, right? You got to understand like how to create an offer which people want, how to display it in a way which will actually convert and get people to buy, how to, you know, maybe have an upsell and sell more digital products and things like that. It's just a little bit more complicated. But if you figure it out, it has a lot more potential to go like up to those upper limits, right? Now, when it comes to digital products, I've done quite a few. I've done, when I started, quite a few which failed and just never got good conversion rates. Nobody bought them. And then I kind of figured it out. I'm still figuring it out. I'm not like a complete expert on it yet, but so far I've had two quite successful digital products. One which has made almost $40,000 and another one which has made over $25,000, which I both sold from my Andrew Tate page. And now I'm putting one together for my gym page, calisthenics page, which I'm going to be selling from there. And so digital products can work super good if you can figure them out, right? And that's why I'm focusing a lot on them now. Now, how much traffic do you actually need to drive, or how many clicks do you have to get to your site or whatever to get to that $200 to $300 per day mark with digital products? What will it actually take? Well, to get there with digital products, let's say that, you know, the average price for a digital product from an Instagram page is like $20, right? So if you have one for $20 to get to $280 a day, that would be 14 sales. 14 times 20. Don't quote me on this. I think the math is right, but 14 times 20 is $280, right? So you need about 14, 15-ish sales to get around there. Now, let's say that you have an average conversion rate of 3%. If you have so 3% of people who go to the site actually buy the product. If you have a conversion rate of 3%, that means you're doing very good. You're not doing anything spectacular, but you're also not doing bad. You're doing about average. You're doing quite good if you get 3% conversion rate. And so with 3% conversion rate, you would need about 450 people visiting the site to get 14 sales. So that means you need 450 people visiting the site to then go ahead and get to that $280 a day mark. Now, you're probably sitting here and you're like, well, why would I even consider doing digital products, right? When I just talked about the email newsletter referrals and I said you only need about 100 people per day to get to that $280 a day mark if you do it right, whereas here you need 450 people a day, you're like, why would I even do that? Well, here's why. It's because, like I said, digital products have so much more potential. There's so much more you can do with them. You could double your conversion rate from 3% to 6% and make double the money. You could do an upsell where you sell people a more expensive product after they bought the first one. You could sell them multiple products. You could sell a product where they have to pay every single month to keep the product or something like that. Point is, there's a lot more which you can do with it, which gives it a lot more potential. And so to get to that $280 a day mark, standard, you'll need about 400 to 500 people visiting the site per day. If you have standard numbers, average industry average numbers, if you're doing it correctly. Now, when should you be doing digital products? When should you not do them? Well, here's when. If you're more advanced and you kind of have a little bit of experience in business, maybe in crafting offers or understanding what your audience wants and stuff like that, then you should do a digital product for your page. Now, if you're like, wow, I just really want to get started with digital products and I'm a complete beginner, I don't recommend doing it. What you can do instead is you can affiliate someone else's digital product. So you can go to someone else, you know, who's already selling a successful digital product and say, hey, I'll sell your digital product for you with my special link and I'll keep a commission, a percentage of the sale, maybe 10%, 20, 30, 40%, whatever it is. And so you can do that where you don't have to create the product and you just drive the traffic and actually sell it, which is quite nice. But when it comes to digital products, if you're a complete beginner, I would probably start with email newsletter referrals first before moving on to digital products. Now, when it comes to digital products, there's a ton of different options in terms of the different kinds you can do and the different ways you can sell them. And you're like, okay, I have a page in this niche, what should I sell? I have a page in this niche, what should I sell? I made a full course video, and I'm going to give it to you here for completely free, which you can watch about breaking down, where I break down the different kinds of digital products, the different structures, which will work for different niches, how to sell them, all that kind of stuff. I go into full detail in this. And so if you want to watch this video, like I said, it's basically a full course, which I'm just going to let you watch here for completely free. You can click this somewhere here on the screen. Just click that and it'll take you to that video. Like I said, it's basically a full course with how much detail and depth I go into. So click that video, go watch that video, and I will see you over there.